this is a relationship building profession. I'm sure like the advisor of yesteryear, they had to be really transactional. It was a numbers game, but that's not what we're looking to do this day and age. And again, like I'm a millennial, and I don't really want to work with anybody who I don't like see out there, who I don't like, I don't believe, I could hang out with, to be frank. I don't want to deal with them. So showing that I am a real person, not only my wins, but showing some of my, losses as well. I put up a post of, me squatting 451 pounds. I failed a double. People want to see that. I'm not going to just show I'm always doing things to the best of my ability, but sometimes we have bad days, and, I'm just like you. And to be able to have those conversations and, even talk to you on social media, really become a part of your life as well as them become a part of mine. I think that's how you are able to build those lasting relationships that'll stand the test of time.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. There's so many of you out there who are just like on the cusp of maybe taking a risk but you have been procrastinating about a lot of different things. And today I have a guest who's going to get you out of that funk and who's going to go ahead and share his story on how he stopped procrastinating, and not just procrastinating, really gave himself the gift of the confidence he needed to really put himself out into the marketplace. So Jorrell, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt. I really appreciate it. I've been building a relationship with you for so long, and you've been giving me such great tips. And, you're one of the people who really helped me come out of this shell, that I've had. So I really do appreciate you.
Yeah, look, man, it's so much fun watching your journey. So I met you at Excel like 2 years ago, I think is when it was. And you were, you were like, I got a long way to go. And I was like, I don't think it's as long as you think it is. But okay. So before we really dive into how you really did get out of your shell and really start getting yourself out into the world in the way that you need to as an advisor, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your journey to becoming an advisor and just about where you are now at Midland Financial and stuff like that?
Yes. So my journey is definitely an interesting one. I would like to say that it's probably very similar to how a lot of people have found the profession by accident. So growing up, I'm born and raised in New York, Harlem. My dad is a MTA bus driver, retired, and a pastor, and my mom was NYPD patrolling our neighborhood. So I had a very strict upbringing. To be quite honest, I always thought that I was going to be a professional athlete. When I got out of school, and was going to have a Hall of Fame career and then go on to be a successful businessman like Magic Johnson. But destiny had other things in mind. So I did have a fallback plan where I said, if I'm not going to be a pro athlete, maybe I'll be a stockbroker. So when I finally went away to college, I went to West Virginia University, played football there my freshman year, but realized I was never going to touch the field and I was done being a tackling dummy. I actually decided to go the finance route and really fell in love with financial planning. However, when I got out of school, like a lot of people in 2015, it was really difficult to find a job as an advisor out the gate. And I actually was working manual labor. I was swinging a pickaxe 12 hours a day and then worked in a warehouse sterilizing things with gamma radiation. Don't know if that's really that safe, but that's what I did until my mom's advisor actually brought me into the profession, and I wound up working for a very large insurance company under that guise of, hey, listen, you're going to be an advisor, be able to, work with clients. I found out pretty quickly that it was more of an eat what you kill type of environment. And I didn't want to be a salesman. I really wanted to provide a service. So I wound up looking around. I went down what I now dub the Kitsis rabbit hole, learning all about what a fiduciary is, what the CFP was, and realized that there was a better way about doing things. I wound up meeting Larry in Midland Financial. We were supposed to only have a half-hour meeting, end up speaking for 2.5 hours, and it was just truly a good fit. And now I've been here 4 years. I started out, as a client services manager. When I was leaving from the insurance company, I felt that I was taking a step back because I was in an advisor facing role to kind of being support. But then, I really thought that, like a car, sometimes you got to downshift to go farther ahead. And it wound up being one of the best things I ever did. Now I am associate wealth advisor here at Midland, and I'm working with a large part of the families to provide, excellent service and, help them with the financial planning and really just help them create that roadmap to get them to where they truly want to be. And it's a great journey, and it's still going on. I'm only 30, so I got a long way to go before I'm ready to hang up the hat.
Yeah. There's a lot there that I want to go ahead and unpack just a little bit more, because I don't think advisors really understand. So like the Larry level advisor understand how you felt coming in. So you don't necessarily need to respond to that as much. I just want to make sure that advisors don't really understand that the world has fundamentally changed, and it's not one of those things where you hire a licensed, person who has experience and you hand them a phone book and say, that's how I learned, you're on your own. That's not the world that we live in anymore. And the world that we live in now has much more to do with exposure and influence and making sure that you're omnipresent and ever present. And when I met you at the Excel meeting 2 years ago, you and I were just talking about, social media and all that stuff. And I wanted to interview you, which, I don't think that actually went as badly as it could have. And I was like, you have something, right? And so, I've been doing this for a really long time, and you have this innate glow about you that I think just draws people in, which is why Larry and the team at Midland loves you so much, which I hear about you all the time from Larry and Denise, by the way. And so let's talk about that though. So people saw this in you, Jorrell. We saw it, but you didn't see it in yourself. What was the moment, or what were the antecedents, or how did you give yourself permission to step out of your shell?
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, like I said, I'm 30 now, and honestly, once I turned 30, it was like a switch just went off. And I realized that, I'm no longer in my 20s. There's still a bunch of time. I'm still young, but I realized that this is going to be one of the biggest decades of my life, and I can't keep saying, "Oh, I'll do this sometime. I'll do it later. I'll get to it." And I realized that the time is now. I really want to be able to put myself in a position to be able to take care of myself and my future family, my future children. And I realized that for me to be that pathfinder, it's time for me to put one foot in front of the other now, not tomorrow.
Okay. So 30, that was the primer, right? So that got the gears turning, but then you actually had to motivate yourself to get out there. Let's deconstruct that a little bit. So one of the things I absolutely love, and actually don't talk a lot about this on the show, most of the advisors who I used to coach and consult were actually either Division I college athletes, like really high performing college athletes, or some of them are actually professional athletes before they became advisors. For some reason, I just had attracted those people. I also had a woman who had like 7 different black belts and,
Oh, wow.
all of these different disciplines. And so, there were these people were just like, super, super at the top of their game. And then they became a financial advisor. Were you able to draw from any of that experience in being such a high performing athlete to motivate you to get out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, for sure. To, be real, I've always had a chip on my shoulder. Coming up, I've always been undersized. I'm 5'7". I always knew that, I'm not going to get the look that other people may, if they're 6'1", 6'2", 240. Like, I have to outwork everybody. So I've always had that chip on my shoulder, but I was always taught to be humble. And I know it's very interesting to say, but I feel that being humble is a blessing. It's a great thing, but sometimes it can also hinder you because when you downplay some of the things that you're able to do, you start to believe it because those thoughts are things. And I had to, kind of look within and know that, who I am, what I believe, and know that I'm capable of. I have to just bring that to the forefront. I have to rely on my instinct. I had to make sure that do what I know at my core. And at my core, I know that I am personable and I can do anything. But once I start thinking, that doubt starts to creep in. And I decided that, you know what, no more am I going to even think about the things that I want to do. Don't get me wrong, preparation is key and you have to plan. But at the same time, you can't let that doubt or thoughts creep in that may hinder you from moving forward. And I think that's been a real big help for me to help me kind of just propel and just do the things that I say I'm going to do. And, also, you know, I have a big fear of being the weak link. That definitely
Oh,
is, yeah, that's one thing that definitely comes from, being an athlete and being a unit where, we all take care of each other. And I refuse to be that weak link. So making sure that I'm mentally strong and doing what needs to be done.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's I like that.
It's a lot.
I like that being that's an interesting point of motivation, right? I don't know if anybody's actually ever really brought that up on the show on how important it is not to be that weak link. And I also think it's interesting about the humility too, right? Because we talk on this show all the time about being your own loud. That's a really big part of what we try to do for our clients, but we also try to do for ourselves here. Is to rise above the noise, because if you are that quiet, mousy person who just wants to stay in the shadows, well, you're going to live in the shadows, right? And we know that you have to rise above the noise so that you can be your own loud, and you're doing that. So, okay, so this next little section of the show here, Jorrell, is let's talk about what you're doing, right? And so what are you doing to get your name and your face out there? Like very recently you actually were on another podcast, which actually is a big deal podcast too. And I watched it, but just so you know,
Oh,
Stoy,
really?
I love that guy,
Yeah.
and I thought you did an amazing job. But let's talk about some of the things that you're doing to get your voice out in the marketplace.
Yeah. So, thank you for letting me know I did okay in the podcast. I'm always honest about it. I always hate anything I do, but that's just the reality. But one of the things that I'm really doing to really get my voice out there is so I've always been a really private type of person, never really posted on social media. But now I'm starting to realize that I can post the things that I do every day. Like the other day I was out riding a bike and I'm just like, you know what, let me post this because maybe some people won't care about it, but maybe some people want to see what I'm doing, that I'm a real person, I'm out there, just like them, living life, enjoying a brisk ride next to the water. Beautiful pictures, by the way. I did great. You know what I mean? But making sure I'm doing that. Also putting out blog articles, kind of things that are important to me. And yeah, and just kind of recording, any kind of video or anything that I'm feeling. If I feel it, like I said before about that kind of thought process that comes into my mind and starts to creep in. If I feel it, I'm just starting to do it. And I think that has been really helpful for getting me to, post something, whether it's I'm cooking or I'm going to, baby shower and my girlfriend made a beautiful gift. Like, why not share that with the world, because these are things that are important to me and that I like, so I'm going to share it with the world. And if somebody doesn't like it, so what, who cares?
Yeah.
That's life.
So if, let's take this to the next level of philosophy here. Why do you think that works so well for you? Why do you think that's the appropriate marketing strategy for you?
That's a great question. I think the reason why that's appropriate for me is because that's really just who I am. I don't do a lot. I don't do a lot of crazy things. Like I tell people, my life really consists of me working, me going to the gym, and me studying. Not a lot of things in between, but at the same time, I do a little things. I have to cook. I need to relax, and I have to be able to meet myself where I am currently. Sure, down the line, will things change where it's more thought out and more process oriented? I'm sure it will. That's a part of growth. But at this point in time, it's more important for me to get in the habit of doing it than to be perfect. And that's really what I'm looking to do.
You have to do it, and no, don't strive for perfection. I want to make sure that I amplify that as much as possible, because a lot of the tendencies that financial advisors have is trending towards perfection. You guys don't want to make mistakes for your clients, and so there's that kind of air of that needing to be something that is really important for you. But perfection is absolutely unattainable, and it's unrealistic for you to go ahead and try to achieve perfection.
Yeah.
Very few people give themselves that gift.
And one other thing I will say that I think is important with the strategy, especially as you're getting into utilizing social media, don't kind of compare yourself to anybody else. There's a lot of great advisors are putting out amazing content. And if you look at what they're putting out and think you can't do the same, you'll never want to start. Me, I don't put out a ton of, financial topics in depth, like a lot of people do. But I do what's me and what's comfortable for me and just get started, and maybe you'll get there. But at the same time, don't look at anybody else. Just kind of run your own race, and it's you versus you.
The other thing that you have done too, which I think is wildly commendable, is that you walked before you ran, right? This wasn't a thing that you turned up to 100. You turned it to like 25, and now you're probably at 50,
Right.
right? And so you have a ways to go, and that, but you also didn't make this something that you were going to, what we call pod fade in the world of podcasting. But that's what happened with it happens with a lot of people, is they try too hard too fast. Was that by design, or was that just because you needed to kind of work your way into this?
Yeah, it was definitely because I had to work my way into it, getting comfortable. Not only that, but the management of time. A lot of times people don't realize that social media is a lot of time that has to go into it. And you have to be consistent, or else, like you said, you'll just fade out, and you don't want to take on too much. And then you find it being kind of a hindrance to you, and you don't want to do it. And that, so you want to take your time with and ease into it. So that's really what I've been doing. And I love the fact that you called me out for being at 50%. I love that. you know,
I've been watching your journey, man. You're on my radar. So.
well, I definitely appreciate it. And I completely agree, because, I have a vision of, who I am. I'm just waiting for the world to catch up to it. And I think once I really hit my stride and able to do the things that I know I'm truly capable of, we'll be singing a very, different tune. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be great.
Well, and I wasn't your first podcast, but so you were on, the No BS podcast with Stoy Hall, and
My
so,
guy.
and what a great, kind of testing / proving ground for you to be with a really good person who's an amazing podcast host. And I think, Stoy and I and Larry and Denise and all of the people who are, kind of within the circles that we run in together, we know that this is going to be this amazing point in time, and 2 years from now, when you're back on the show and you have this unbelievable social media following and the foundation that you are currently building right now, I'm really, really looking forward to that. Not to put the cart before the horse here, but the other thing too is you said that you are showing your daily life, and something I want to highlight with that is people want to see themselves in their advisor, right? And especially anybody who's really younger than the baby boomer generation, so my generation, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, really are looking for a real connection, because they don't want to have the same sort of transactional relationship that a lot of boomers have had with their financial services professionals or people who are in retirement. They're looking for something a lot more real. And by you sharing that stuff, Jorrell, I think that's just really, really powerful because, then when you're sitting down with a client or a family and they're like, God, Jorrell, I saw that, Instagram picture of, you cooking, that looked really good. What a great conversation that is instead of, Jorrell, tell me why the market's down 5%.
Right. I completely agree. And, that's what we really look to foster. This is a relationship building profession. I'm sure like the, advisor of yesteryear, they had to be really transactional. It was a numbers game, but that's not what we're looking to do this day and age. And again, like I'm a millennial and I don't really want to work with anybody who I don't like see out there, who I don't like, I don't believe, I could hang out with, to be frank. I don't want to deal with them. So being showing that I am a real person, not only my wins but showing some of my losses as well. I put up a post of me squatting 451 pounds. I failed a double. People want to see that. I'm not going to just show I'm always doing things to the best of my ability, but sometimes we have bad days, and I'm just like you. And to be able to have those conversations and even talk to you on social media, really become a part of your life as well as them become a part of mine, I think that's how you are able to build those lasting relationships that'll stand the test of time.
Yeah. We just posted something on LinkedIn that so it's my 25th wedding anniversary this year, and
Oh, happy
instead
anniversary.
of thank you, and instead of a trip, which my wife and I don't really travel. I travel a lot for work, and so we I bought myself a musical instrument and bought her. She bought a pickup for her cello and an amp. And so
Whoa.
I purchased a tuba. But now my wife is very, very good. She's consistently played her cello for a long time. I haven't picked up a tuba in over 20 years.
Okay,
And
so
it
two
was
things now
terrible.
before you go. Two things now. One, so I'm a drummer. I actually used to play the trumpet as well.
Mhm.
I still have my trumpet; it's engraved, but I should have never put it down. That's one of the things I like. I'm so mad at myself for doing that. And then we might have to start a band. I'm a drummer. We can make this happen. This could be great. It could be
Listen,
great.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. I suck, dude. I am so bad. It's unbelievable. And that was actually part of the post. And that was the fun part is the comments that were on the post were, again, and I'm emulating what you were just talking about, kind of mirroring what you're saying there, that people do want to see the reality. On social, it's all, selfies and filters and, my life is so perfect.
Mhm.
But I think the people who are the most successful are the ones who do show their unfiltered self, and you're doing a very, very, very good job with that. Now, so let's fast forward 5 years.
Mhm.
If you could wave a magic wand, and be the Jorrell that you truly want to be when it comes to public facing and having some of the exposure that you're looking for, what would that look like?
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna give you the full vision here. So 5 years from now, I'm hoping to be married, maybe having my first child, having purchased my first home, you know, hopefully a larger part of Midland Financial and helping steer that growth. I would love to be doing speaking engagements and being on at these conferences and on more panels. Actually even doing some work for maybe CNBC, or just kind of giving my thoughts on what I think the profession should look like, and really be somebody who's able to help steer ahead, not only next gen advisors coming into, the profession. That also includes those career changers, but also, Black planners as well. Really being somebody who is kind of that beacon and voice to help steer that change. And yeah, really be kind of like everywhere, every kind of facet, whether it be kind of print, whether it be on TV, on social, and have a kind of a platform where, people know that they can come to me for sound advice, and know I'm going to give it to them straight, and tell them, what's what. And that's really what, I want to be able to build. My integrity is everything. Growing up, my dad always told me, he said, you're a man, you're a black man, but more importantly, you're a Bland. And I live that, every day through my life.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Right?
That was magnificently poetic too, my friend.
He's a preacher,
Well, yes. So yeah, the flow's got to be there. So okay. A couple of things I want people to take away from this. Number one is walk before you run when it comes to any sort of exposure. Two, make sure you have big plans and big goals and start moving towards those. But the other thing is really just abolish the idea of perfection, right? That you need to truly be you, warts and all, because that's what people are really looking for. And last but not least, stop procrastinating, right? It's the best time. I love the saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yeah.
Today is the best time for you to start your content marketing strategy, for you to get your voice out in the marketplace and stop being the best kept secret. So I'm going to ask you my favorite question that I don't always get to ask everybody, but I definitely save time to ask you this question, which is, what should I have asked you that I didn't?
That is a great question. You know what? If I would say, what one question that I think would be a great question to ask me is, why do you feel that you have to push so hard to make this vision a reality? And to
Take it away.
that, and to that, I would say, you know, to be quite honest, I have no other choice. Nobody's coming to save me. I have to make it. My family depends on me. I went from being the problem child to the golden child. And I want to make sure that not only am I able to uplift my family and family name, but I really want to make sure that, I leave the world and anybody who I've ever come across in a much better position than, before they met, after they met me. And, hopefully be able to, as I'm doing that, push my race forward along that way as well.
Nice. That was a great freaking answer. All right, listen, man, I'm sure that there are people who are going to want to reach out to you. Who should reach out to you? What are you looking for? And what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me, for a multitude of things. If you want to just have a conversation, especially if you're looking for some kind of mentorship, not saying that I could be the mentor, but potentially I could be, or I could steer you in the right direction, feel free to reach out. Also, if you're looking for somebody to potentially give you a second opinion on kind of your portfolio and your financial plan, feel free to reach out as well. You can find me on Twitter. I'm sure we will post my Twitter on there because the way I set up the ats are a little crazy. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Jorrell Bland as well, or you could always come to our nifty website, midlandfinancial.com, and be able to get in contact with me there.
And I'm just going to do a quick plug for Midland in general. So it is an absolutely fantastic financial planning firm. They have the Midland Money Mindset. Make sure that you're checking out their podcast, the book, which is Financial Planning Made Personal. Try to receive, because our audience are generally advisors, and if they want to see a great model of what great marketing can be, I think you guys are really firing on all cylinders. So you are also really set up, in my opinion, to really reach for whatever you want, because you have actually, Midland's team has built a really strong Midland foundation that I think that you're going to be able to spring off of. And just to quote something that Larry and Midland Financial says, what did you do today to bring you joy? And I love that. I love that sort of idea. I love that philosophy. And you should ask yourself that every day when you get done, what is going to bring you joy? And part of what should bring you joy is getting your voice out in the marketplace and really truly helping people make wise financial decisions. Because listen, most of the United States does not have any sort of good financial advice, and you are fiduciarily responsible to start providing more advice for more people. And I'm just, that's kind of my closing statement here. So Jorrell, listen, man, I love watching your journey. I'm so happy to know you. I can't wait to see where you're going, because where you are right now is already pretty freaking cool. And I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much again for having me. We got to get together real soon. I'm going to hold it to you. All right.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, as we wrap up today, there's two quick things that I want to make sure that you know. Number one, we've got our Pod Blast collection that's coming out very, very soon. If by the time this episode comes out, it's not already out there. So please go to proudmouth.com. This is basically this unbelievable content strategy that we're giving to all of you, so that you can actually not only have more formatted content, but you're also going to be able to execute your podcast on your own, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. So there's number one. And number two is, if you want help with your content marketing strategy to accelerate your influence and to start your podcast and your video podcast, we have that solution. It's our managed influence services, and I'd love to talk to you about that. So just go ahead and message me on social media, or you can go ahead and email me, matt.h@proudmouth.com. I'd be more than happy to chat with you about that. So for Jorrell, everybody at Midland, and for all of us here at ProudMouth, we will see you on the other side of the mic very soon.